That was a stretch of 2001 to 2008.
That's a lot of NCAA tournaments to get in, and he used to be in it all the time. And it was fun to coach against him.
He certainly had a lot of fun here in Tallahassee in his return. And so, Florida State and Chicago State are ready to go. The Noles graduate setter Jelly Droskovic is back to serve. She's one of the best servers in the ACC, and straight away drops in the ace.
And goes for a good shot at that seam where the teammates have got to really decide who's going to take that ball.
And Coach Trifonov, told us before this matchup that if there's one area that they have struggled, it has been on serve receive.
And Florida State's got a good serving team, so they're going to have to really stay focused to get a good pass and get a good swing at the ball.
Second contact up and over the net and out to boot. So the Noles are out to a 2-0 lead. Droskovic, who got this match underway, will serve it in once more.
Let's see if she keeps going back to that same zone.
Picked up by Wagita. And that will be out of play. Yanlis Feliz was looking for a touch call, will not get it. Feliz, one of a few players who transferred into Chicago State from Seward County Community College when the Trifonovs made their way to Chicago State as well. Here's Feliz. And there you go. The first point on the board for the Cougars. They trimmed the lead to 2.
And she did a good job of recognizing that big block in front of her and chose to tip it to that opening.
Louise rotates to the back row. She'll serve it in to Audrey Rothman. High reach for Corey Lewis. Joust at the net. And there's another kill. This time Messalina Severino, number 3 in black.
It looks like Florida State got called in the net as well, but it was a good wipe-off shot.
Freshman Cole Howell passes it up. Nice dig by Lauren Martin off of Corey Lewis. Time off the top of the block, Maddie Snyder. Back row attack, Audrey Koenig.
Florida State's got weapons all over the court. It's good to see them using that in that back row early. That'll keep Chicago State on their toes, I'm sure.
And that's something, too, Coach, that Florida State has done more often here over the last handful of matches, is set the back row.
Well, it's pretty effective when you've got somebody like that hitting the ball.
I would say so, and that serve looks pretty effective as well. Yanlis Feliz almost became a member of the Seminole Sound for a second. All-out effort by Feliz. She couldn't track it down. That's the second ace of the opening set for the Noles.
Now it looks like Florida State's trying to pick on Patricia, and I think just trying to keep her off the net because she's one of their attackers. So make her pass the ball before she goes in to hit.
And Florida State is on a 3-0 run. They lead by 4. Coach Trifonov has called a timeout. We'll take it right alongside the Cougars. A good start for the number 25 team in the country. Tallahassee on the ACC Network Extra, where number 25, Florida State, leads it 6-2 over Chicago State here at Lucy McDaniel Court at Tully Gym. And there's a block for the Noles, and you mentioned the blocking is one of the things that's caught your eye with Florida State here, particularly of late.
And they've good size at the net. They do an excellent job of reading the attackers. And that attacker, just if they don't hit off the block, they're probably gonna get it stuffed.
Tight pass. It's an overpass, and it's killed by Audrey Koenig.
So a couple of reception errors, but then this one goes over the net. And there's just nothing you can do about that. Once that passes over the net, the front row attacker's just gonna drill it.
Chicago State's having all kinds of problems on serve receive early on, but that is a much-needed side out. The opposite number 21 in black, Julieta Sandez, sides out for Chicago State.
She just got it to bobble a little bit between Florida State's blocking hands and then able to score off of that.
5-point lead for the Noles. As Lauren Martin goes back to serve, she's wearing the libero jersey in this match. For the majority of the season, it has been number 20, Andrea Calderon, who has been the libero for the Cougs. Addie Snyder with a kill. Quick set to the middle. Kiari Roby got those hands up and knocked it back to the floor.
And Roby and Snyder, I mean, that's a two-person block right there, trying to stop that quick, really effective blocking.
Florida State speeding ahead quickly here. That caught a piece of the block, and credit number 18, Patricia Wadgida, for tooling the FSU block.
You can hit it high off their hands, going deep, or off to the side, going for that sideline.
Wadgida, just a freshman, already has 10 or more kills in half of the matches that Chicago State has played in to this point. Snyder cross court. Back row attack, Feliz.
Strong play. You know, and if they get caught out of system and that sets off the net, going to the back row, that is a healthy swing right in the seam of the Florida State defense.
That'll send Sandez back to serve. It's a service error. With the first contact issues for the Cougars, Florida State's only taken 7 swings to this point. Set on the slide, that'll find the line. Berenice Almeida.
And if they keep that ball in system and their setter is able to get to it, it's a wonderful set right here. She stretches that hitter all the way to the sideline.
Yeah, it's a Chicago State team that doesn't do anything overwhelmingly well. Their opponent hitting percentage is great at 162. It's top 20 in the nation. Everything else right around 100. So there's a whole lot of teams that are doing worse. There's some teams that are doing better. They've been solid in just about every category for the most part. There's an ace serve, speaking of, for Wadgida.
And this is a nice jump topspin serve. We don't see that many people doing that anymore.
Oh, nice three-point pass for Florida State. And that was easy for Kiari Roby.
And she is up in the air so early, and that hand is extended. It is tough to block that ball. You almost have to put your hands just out to the sides because she's going to hit it straight down.
Back underway, Audrey Koenig floats her serve into the net. Service error. The point back to Chicago State, who seemingly withstood Florida State's early onslaught, now trading points back and forth with the Noles here midway through set 1. Could be another ace. It is.
And you know, that's a quick way to catch up. But of course, every coach always tells us it's serving and passing. But that gets you back in this very quickly if you could serve those aces.
So Wadgida with an ace, now Almeida with an ace. Almeida, a player who's got international volleyball experience at the U20 level, and her trip to the service line will be put to an end right there. Audrey Rothman with the kill.
She just continues to get better and better as a sophomore. I've really been impressed with her.
Sophomore bouncing back from being aced with a kill. Sandez shoves that ball over to Florida State. Once again out of the middle. Same song, different verse. Corey Lewis this time putting it away.
When it takes those setters to find the hand right there. But boy, I mean, that's what I would be doing. I would want to set that middle every time because that'll just open up the game quickly.
Roby serves it in once again. That off the top of the block. Over on 2 into the floor. Boy, both the Florida State setters have had a really innate ability to find the hole in the defense and do so effectively.
And she really, I think, kind of really saw the hole in the court. She's in the back row, but she's small enough that she could dump the ball over without getting called illegal.
And if you're Chicago State, that is the response you want to see. An immediate side out by Messalina Severino. Both teams set in the middles here.
Well, if you get your passing going, you can really run the middle. It opens up the whole game.
Knowles go right back to Corey Lewis, but she's rejected by Severino. And Severino's another one of those players who came to Chicago State with the Trifonovs.
And she put her hands on the sides of the ball.
She's been the leading blocker for the Cougars this season, and for a while, there's another ace.
And that's where you want to try and serve it toward an inline or the sideline and make Florida State make a decision whether it's in or out.
Victoria Zagumny out of Warsaw, Poland, swaps an ace with an error. Proportionately speaking, Chicago State keeping it 1-for-1, a handful of both here in set one. Now for Florida State, Angelia Draskovic goes back to serve. FSU running a 6-2 system. Chicago State running a 5-1, so the Noles are going to sub much more frequently than you'll see the Cougars do. Both teams now with a couple of service errors in this match.
And both the Florida State service errors have been in the net, which I'm sure Coach Poole is, oh, there's another one, not too crazy about.
It's another one, not just a service error in the net, but it hit the top and then just sort of very slowly crashed down. It's like adding insult to injury, and we saw it 2 times in a row.
Well, you're trying to serve aggressive, so sometimes you're going to hit the top of the net.
FSU's block was up. Chicago State keeps it up. FSU once again causing some problems. Wagita this time rolling it over the top. Koenig looking to cut a sharp angle and misses the sideline.
That's really a smart play on her part, just to try and get it around the block. See if she gets it again and tries to use those hands.
Chicago State trimming the FSU lead down to 3. And once again, it'll be Lauren Martin back to serve. Overpass, and it's put down.
Really, I think Coach Trevino talked about how they were going to have to serve aggressively. So far, that game plan is holding up.
The lead is as small as it's been in some time here in this set. Florida State got off to an early run, and Corey Lewis wants to put him on another one.
That's a great play, running the hitter behind the setter. Really difficult to track her and try and get a block on her.
So with that kill, Lewis rotates off the floor. She's got 2 on 5 swings. Quick set to the middle. Almeida on the attack. Now it's Wagita. Roby off speed. Wagita covers. Sandez off the block. Noles are out of system. Koenig is dug up. Lee's getting in on the defensive efforts. Nice rally here for the Cougars and the Noles. That came in outside the antenna. Just nowhere left for Patricia Wagita to go with that volleyball.
We saw both teams really try and slow it down and just roll it in, but defensively, both teams were sharp enough to be ready to pick that up. So just changing the speed, the trajectory.
Now Wagita once again, this time off speed. That was a smart shot.
Well, she saw the hole. Florida State's kind of playing a perimeter defense way back around the outside of the court. And they've got to give you some hole. If you can find it, be effective.
Wagita, just a freshman, second on the team in kills per set, 3.54, just outside the top 100 hitters in the NCAA. Audrey Koenig, she's certainly up there as well. One of the best hitters in the ACC. And there you go. She went right back to that cut shot and she found the confines
and the
of
ball was close enough to the net that she could really get it through there and get it inside that sideline.
Third kill here of the set for Audrey Koenig. Those 3 on 7 swings. Tight pass. Koenig was rejected. She gets it back. Roby just manufactures that on 2.
Great jump, long arms. She knew exactly what she needed to do. It doesn't have to be pretty, but it's effective.
So FSU has withstood the Chicago State push and has re-extended the lead back out to 5. And I think we're going to see a challenge here by Coach Trifonov. So he puts the challenge card back. I believe he was asking the down referee, Harold Weber, whether or not he thought FSU was in the net. But then he winked at him, elbowed him, and then put the timeout signal up. So I'm not sure if this is actually a challenge or if he said, no, I'm not going to go ahead and challenge it. It's just a timeout.
Yeah, I think it's just a timeout because
the
referee's not looking at the replay on the camera. So and good for the referee to say, I don't need, either was it challengeable or no, that didn't happen. So that'll save him a challenge.
Yeah, it was announced here in house that it was a challenge. I think everybody saw that green card come out, and they didn't necessarily see the T and the wink afterwards. The initial ruling was that there was no net violation. And again, Coach Trifonov seems okay with that description. If we do get to a challenge, these are some of the things that are reviewable. Whether or not a ball was contacted by a player on its way out, whether or not that ball was in fact in or out, whether or not a player was, yes, in the net or not, whether or not a back row player launched from in front of the 3-meter attack line, and then also if somebody while serving committed a service football. Again, Coach Trifonov pulled the card early, then opted to just call a timeout instead. So there will not be a challenge here. And we'll get back to action shortly. As it stands, 5-point lead for the Noles. That is where it will stay. Noles hitting .381 to this point here in set number 1. Wagita stuffed by the Seminoles, and as the Noles have come along, that has been the tandem that has really been blocking well together. Roby and Conley have really been figuring things out there on the right side of the net.
But they've got a high set going to this outside hitter, and there's just really nothing she can do. She almost gets stuffed before she even gets to swing at it. But they have put up the solid block to keep it from going by.
Noles are on a 3-0 run. That'll put an end to it. Kenneth Phelan, we saw a lot of the float serve early. She's got that jump topspin in her arsenal, and Florida State told us earlier this year, we'll sprinkle it in as the season goes along.
And you've got to, because it's a different type of a serve, and people aren't used to passing it. It comes fast. There's topspin. It drops down in front of you. It drops into the court.
Wagita with the same exact serve. Florida State runs a slide with Conley. Feliz had it rejected by Roby. At a system set by Filamawa to Audrey Koenig. Now Feliz cross court.
Big swing. Defense is over there on the sideline. She thinks it's going to go out, so she pulls her hands back, but not before the ball touches him.
So Yanlis Feliz trims the lead down to 4. That is the 3rd kill on 6 swings for Feliz to this point. Koenig.
She seems to like that cross-court angle, so I believe Chicago State's going to try and drop that inside hand to keep her from going over there.
Exactly what happened there, and Florida State will call timeout. Lead down to 3. Noles 3 points away from perhaps winning set 1 here. And all right, Coach, first match back on the mic. How do you assess what you've seen so far from both of these teams?
Well, you know, the game hasn't changed much, even though I've been away from it a little bit. But I think both teams really are trying to focus on serving aggressively. Therefore, they've missed a few serves. But I like what I see from both sides, aggressive swings. I think we've had some good blocks. Setters are really conscientious of when there's something open on the defensive side.
And this Chicago State team coming into Tallahassee, it's a non-conference match for the Noles, but every match that Chicago State plays in is technically a non-conference match for the Cougars because they are the only fully independent program in Division I volleyball. They were in the WAC, and they left that conference after 2021, and after arguably their best season in program history, where they placed 3rd in the WAC and ended up hosting the first round of the NIVC.
And it's just so difficult to schedule because everybody has all of their conference matches. They usually play a double round robin, and that fills up a lot of the schedule. And then teams try and look for really highly ranked teams to bump up that RPI. And so Chicago State has just got to get to as many schools as they can and play. And when he called Chris Poole about coming down here, Chris had an opening. And so it's nice to see Tony Trifonov back in town and getting some good competition against this Florida State team.
This is a Chicago State team, to your point, that has been able to schedule a few really solid opponents. Tennessee earlier in the year, they beat Indiana, and now they're taking their chances against Florida State. And Kiari Roby says, I'll have none of that language. I'm going to go ahead and put this down and get us on the way to set 1.
The challenge here is to set her high enough. She's got such a great jump. And as a setter, you just kind of almost set it just above the net, but boy, she can reach a lot higher than that.
Electrifying player who transferred in from the University of Oregon, a team who nearly knocked off Louisville on the Cards way to eventually becoming the national runner-up. Ida back row, Florida State responds with a cross-court attack. That is wide by Audrey Rothman, and point goes to the Cougars.
And really aiming for that deep corner, just barely missed it. Had a lot of room to get that ball to land in there.
Berenice Almeida heads back to serve. Rothman's jammed up. Phelan had to run across the court just to set that ball. Here she is running the middle with Roby. Back row, Sandez. And a free ball back to Chicago State. That's inside the antenna. Back row, Koenig. Looks like somebody was in the net. Kiari Roby's being called for it. And she's looking back at the bench saying, no, I was not.
Well, I don't see Coach Poole getting up for a challenge, so I think he's going to let that ride.
Appears so. And here's Chicago State once again, trimming the lead back down to 2. This time late here in set 1. Noles lead at 23-21. Back set, Conley down the line.
And that shot down the line, that's just got to score. That's so hard to dig because you've got your defense pulled up a little bit tighter and you don't have as much time to react.
So with that kill by Conley, Florida State stands now at set point. Feliz cross court, got it.
That same deep corner that is always open. No one ever plays defense back there. It's a long way. It's got 42 feet to land in back there.
Annalise Feliz, the first All-American in Chicago State history a couple of seasons ago. More on her later. As Audrey Koenig says it's all about the Noles now. Set 1, Florida State. They win it 25-22. Balls up or serving effectively, they have really sparked this Florida State team this season.
And when you're running a 6-2, that setter is going to have 3 hitters that they can set in the front row, so they've got more targets. And then, of course, they can also set somebody in the back row, so lots of options offensively for those setters.
And I mentioned Florida State coming into tonight being one of the best hitting teams in the conference and the country. They hit north of 300 to this point this season at 303. That's second best only to Pittsburgh in the ACC and 6th in the NCAA.
And I think we've been able to see tonight how well they set the middle, and that's going to be very important going forward. They've got to be able to attract attention to the middle, but both of the setters do a great job of giving something for those middle attackers to hit the ball straight down.
Take a look at Florida State's offense. The 303 hit percentage that I referenced, second best in the ACC. Kills per set, 4th best in the ACC. And then when we look at the total assists, that's second best. FSU's been in a lot of 5-setters, so that drives down the assist per set number. But in terms of total raw assists, second most of anybody in the conference.
And the ACC is so strong this year. How many do we have in the top 25?
4 now with FSU in.
Yeah, it's incredible. Really strong conference.
In fact, the top 3 ranked teams in the ACC are all ranked in the top 10 in Pitt, Louisville, and Georgia Tech. Point to Chicago State, point to Florida State, I believe, to get things going here in set number 2. Kylene Filamawa floats it in, and it's a good serve. Kylene has been quietly tremendous back there. Snyder on the attack.
Snyder does a great job in that. Being left-handed is just a little bit unusual in volleyball. Everybody wants to try and block that right shoulder. And if you don't have a lefty on your team, it's tough to practice against that.
Something interesting to note now, looking over at Chicago State, Whitney Barnes is now wearing the Libero jersey. She was targeted there on serve receive. Has not played a whole heck of a lot of volleyball this season for the Cougars. Only 27 sets, and she's listed as an outside hitter. But Coach Trifonov told us before the match, he said it's been a year where we've had a smaller roster, we've had a number of injuries, and so we've just sort of had to ask players to step over and do things that they might not normally do.
And the players have to do that. I mean, you've got to play where the team needs you, but sometimes you're just a little bit out of position.
Barnes herself started her career at San Jose State. This is a tight pass off of Barnes. And now Florida State is scrambling. Sandez had it rejected. The Cougars keep it up. Once again, off the top of FSU's block, Audrey Koenig got over there and kept it off the floor. Koenig again, and it finds the end line.
Just nice defense, nice ball control, good hands. Giving that hitter something good to swing at, she's able to score off that block.
It's Kylene Filamawa, who in early conversations this year when we talked to the coaches, was recruited as an outside hitter. Florida State gets the ball over once again. They said she's great, she can hit the ball hard. She's routinely caught teams off guard preseason whenever they see her hitting the ball, and they go, their libero hits the ball like that?
And her hands setting are just gorgeous, my goodness.
And that's exactly what they said. They said, and wait till you see her set the ball.
Yeah, I mean, her setting technique is fascinating.
Getting a good look at her serving technique once again. Florida State sided out and has been in this rotation for a while. A strong one for Kylene, who drops in the ace. And Coach Trifonov, without a single point on the board in set number 2, is going to take a timeout.
And that's just aggressive, smart serving, just keeping the pressure on the defense with Chicago State. They cannot get a good ball up to the setter.
Third ace of the match for Florida State, equaling Chicago State, who had 3 in the first set alone.
And it's good to take time out here and let Filamawa try and think about just a little bit. Maybe ice her, see if they can get her to change her serve up, or maybe slack off just a little bit, not be quite as aggressive. But that is low and flat with no spin. It's very difficult to pass.
We saw some good fight out of the Cougars in set 1, who found themselves down early, right about the same point. Coach Trifonov had to call his first time out of the first set. And sure enough, as the teams entered what we referred to as the red zone, the last 5 or so points of that set, the Cougars were back within a couple of points of the Noles, and so we'll see if they can weather this storm here.
Just takes a pass that they can get their setter underneath, and they've got the hitters that can put the ball away. Just got to get that first pass up.
So the huddles have been broken. The teams are back out on the floor. And we'll see what adjustments Chicago State has made in serve receive, or if the timeout was enough to ice Kylene Filamaua. A good crowd has filed in here to Tully Gym tonight. Last football weekend of the season for the FSU football team, who remains in the college football playoff race. Feliz tools the FSU block to get a much-needed side out. But there's NCAA tournament soccer. You get a top 25 volleyball team. It's a good time to be a Seminole here in Tallahassee.
There's lots going on here, and really excellent teams in all those areas.
FSU women's basketball just got their season started, beating the Lady Vols of Tennessee.
And especially a Friday night before a home football game. I mean, a lot of people are looking for something to do, and there's no place to enjoy a better evening than Tully Gym with volleyball.
Enjoying their 25th ranked Seminoles out to a 6-point lead here. Chicago State was finally able to side out, put their first point on the board, but a service error and a misconnection on a set.
Yeah, just tough. You know, you've got that set, the hitter going behind the setter. She can't quite see her, so that's just got to be totally accurate.
So the lead at the moment is 7 for the Noles here in set number 2. Just 5 swings to this point for Florida State. They've recorded kills on 4 of them. That's an overpass, and Conley tried to put it down. It's going to be a free ball back to the Noles. And there's Roby.
It's a nice little shoot set that goes right in the seam of the block. See, she just pushes it out there very quickly.
7 different Seminoles have registered a kill to this point in this match. They're on a 3-0 run. And there's a block. Roby and Conley.
And they have tried to push Wakita back as far as they can, just to take her out of this swing as a left side hitter. So keeping pressure on her.
10-1 Noles. Sandez pushes that one over. Here's Koenig. And there's a block for Chicago State.
And a little bit of surprise that Florida State wasn't there to cover and get that up. They're usually pretty good at this. This is just open right into a spot that's a hole on the court.
Selena Severino and Julieta Sandez teaming up for the double block of Audrey Koenig. He now shoves it right back into the block. Filamaua there to cover. Once again rejected by the block. And this time the set goes to Roby. At a system ball to Wagita. Koenig once again for Florida State. Back row Feliz dug up by Filamaua. Wagita off speed.
Smart play, smart play. You know, it just keeps going and going and going. And then you just change the speed of it, and Florida State is too far back. Really a smart play on her part.
For Wagita, just a freshman taking on a Florida State team here ranked in the top 25, a team that Chris Poole himself has said is as athletic and as big a team as he's had in some time. This is going to be a real helpful match for her as she continues to grow as a Division I volleyball player. Service error, meanwhile, for Whitney Barnes. Koenig rotates to the back row to serve. Double contact on the set. And the lead is 9. Make it 8.
You know, Coach Trifonov, when he came in, he really commented on the floor. This beautiful Terraflex floor really adds something, I think, to the facility and is so much better for the players to land on, a little bit softer than that wood floor.
Conley hammers that one off the top of the block. Yeah, it's made things much safer for the Noles as they continue to operate at a highly efficient clip. Five kills so far for Kiari Roby. And this has been fun to watch too, Coach, with Kiari Roby being an effective server as well, being able to send one of your middles back to the back row. She's not 6 rotations, but the fact that she can go the 4th and get some quality serves in has been big for FSU as well.
And that's a good serve. Again, just a floater, no spin.
I'll tell you what, Wagita is really starting to figure out that off speed over the blocker's hands, isn't she?
Well, you know, if you've got a big, tall block in front of you, you know the rest of them are going to be back. And if you can't hit off of him, you've got to just change it up and find a hole.
And that she does, so she'll head now back to serve from Chanomau, Poland. Jump top spin, well placed for the ace.
Just drops down in front of you faster than you think it's going to.
Right in front of Addie Holtquist.
You think you've got some time in those other ones, they float back at you and you've got to stay deep.
Here she comes again. This time Holtquist passes a beauty up ahead, but Chicago State's block was ready.
Really nice job of reading that. Is it Berenice, I think, that got her hands up on that?
Yes, Berenice Almeida, the junior from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Back set, Conley had it rejected. Yanlis Feliz.
Now we'll see if Florida State's going to change up something on their offense. A couple of rejections, probably a tip or an off speed.
And an FSU lead that has been as large as 9 has been trimmed for the moment down to 5. A 4-0 run for Chicago State and a tremendous service rotation for Wagita. Over on 2, Phelan scrambles. Lewis gets it over. Feliz off the block, off of Villamala, and the run continues.
And they were down 0-6. They have really stayed focused and come back and changed their tactics.
6 kills now for Yanlis Feliz, who, in addition to being an All-American in 2021, was also the WAC Player of the Year. An aggressive serve there and tight to the end line, but it is a service error. Strong rotation, though, for the freshman Wagita. Looks like Florida State needs to wipe up a spot right in the middle of the floor. And Angelia Draskovic is set to serve. Feliz had it rejected, but Florida State was in the net. They're going to call Corey Lewis for being in the net.
You know, she gets up so high and penetrates across that net. Let's see if we can see what happens here. Yeah, just an arm as she comes down. Got to get him over there and then get him back quickly.
And Oles' lead is down to 4. Rothman cross court. That corner was open and she found it.
That's only her second kill of the match so far.
2 kills on 5 swings to go along with a couple of digs and an ace. For the sophomore out of Birmingham, Alabama. Both she and her Audrey counterpart, Audrey Koenig, out on the left pin, go full 6 rotations for Florida State. And that time, Messalina Severino got that ball right inside the FSU block.
Just snuck it right underneath her arms. Really a good, quick swing.
It's an FSU team that has been one of the best blocking teams in the ACC in conference play. So that doesn't happen often, but Chicago State has beaten that block a few times, and they've aced the Seminoles a handful of times as well. That's number 5 in the match. Free ball to the Cougars. Feliz. Yes.
And we've seen this score down the line a few times. You give her that hole, and Jelly has pulled way up there underneath the block and leaves that line open.
So Victoria Zagumni goes back to serve once again. She's the setter in Chicago State's 5-1. Snyder had it rejected. My goodness, what a run for Chicago State.
Still big, solid block up there. Florida State's got to tip off speed or go off of those hands somehow.
Tight pass, and Lewis makes the most of it. Jelly Droskovic popped it just far enough off the net for Lewis to get a swing off.
She saved that ball, didn't she? And Lewis was up there ready to go.
So the lead goes back to 2 for the moment for Florida State. And Kylene Filamawa goes back to serve, dropping in yet another ace.
That looked like that was going to go out of bounds, and anytime that's close, players have got to make the decision to play that.
Couple of aces in this match for Kylene Filamawa. Noles as a team have 4. Nice pass there, and there's Severino. Messalina Severino, a member of the Dominican Republic's junior national teams growing up, the U18 and the U20 teams alike. One of a number of players who are not from the United States and who also have represented their respective countries on the national and international scale.
And Dominican Republic's an excellent team, big country. They've qualified for the Olympic Games in Paris next year, so strong volleyball.
It's a team that is really, I mentioned how many are internationals. I think the list of players who aren't international is fewer. There's only 2 players from the United States on the Chicago State roster. Wagita down the line got Florida State off balance. And I mentioned that only 2 players are from the continental United States. 9 of 11 players are international, and every single one of them has represented their respective country in the international volleyball circuit. Just
a really strong roster. And the other thing he talked about with this, Coach Triffenau, is that they're either freshmen or seniors, so it's a wide gap in between those 2 classes.
And the lead is down to 1 here for Florida State, who is not firing on all cylinders here midway in set 2, the way they were out of the gates. They've led by as much as 9. And Whitney Barnes serves it in and out.
And they've ended their runs on bad serves, so Chicago State's had a chance to keep that string going, but they've missed a couple of those deep serves.
To your point, Chicago State actually for this set hitting .333, so when they get quality first contact and run their offense, they've been doing things like this. Quality effort, though, for Florida State. Rothman gets it back in play before it gets to the stands. Back set to Sandez. Rothman off speed, picked up by Zagumni. And that is down for a block for Florida State. I wasn't sure if it was maybe tooled out of play.
Yeah, it looked like she was going to maybe try and go off their hands, but it landed inside that court. Rothman got her hands in the right position.
And with FSU responding with a couple of kills here, their lead is back to 3. Timeout, Chicago State. We'll take it with them. Welcome back to Tallahassee on the ACC Network Extra. We're back underway here, late set 2 in Tully Gym. Sean Davis and Dr. Cecile Reynaud on the call with you as Chicago State cuts right back into FSU's lead once more.
That strong hit out of the back row, which we saw early in the match.
FSU has led by as many as 9, and once again it goes to 3. Another aggressive serve by the Cougars, who have been plenty aggressive, especially here in set number 2, hitting 270 to the Noles 160 in this set alone. Conley had to wait on the back set and got it right there up to the net in time. And even though the block was up, it redirected to a spot where there was nobody in black on the floor. 4-point lead for the Seminoles. Back row attack, Feliz, one-handed dig for Audrey Koenig. Second contact, though, is into the antenna, point Cougars.
Now that when it comes that far back off from the back court, you want to keep that ball off the net just so somebody doesn't get hurt. You can see it just gets up there very tight, and it's just hard to swing when you've got, you're going into the net and there's a couple of blockers there.
Here comes another jump topspin, and this is the rotation you want to be in if you're Chicago State. And so far, so good. They strung together a number of points earlier in the set with the freshman Patricia Wagita back to serve. And now they're on another run with the freshman back at the service line.
They've just got to, Florida State's got to step up. This ball's going to come down fast.
At times this year, Florida State has struggled with first ball contact. And that time they do run a much better pass, and Sydney Conley is the beneficiary on the right pin, number 15 in gold. As she subs out, she puts Florida State within a couple of points of set 2. Police. That was trouble from serve receive on for Chicago State, and the Noles once again have found set point, this time in set 2. Service error from Angelia Draskovic.
And she's not very happy with herself. That's just the last time you want to miss a serve is on set point.
She is the ultimate competitor. And don't you love that when your ultimate competitor is your setter?
Yes, of course, because, they're going to get everybody else in line.
Almeida will serve it in. Koenig down to the Terraflex on serve, receive, and welcome to the match, Sky Eakes.
That was a wonderful, nice high ball in the middle. She just takes a swing like she's been out there all night.
So Eakes and the Noles hang on for set 2. They won set 1, 25-22. They win the second, 25-21. We'll be back here at the intermission in Tallahassee. Intermission time here in Tallahassee. The Noles lead at 2-zip over Chicago State. But this match has been particularly tight as we take a look at the numbers. Only 4 more kills for the Noles. They're hitting roughly 50 points higher than the Cougars, but the digs comparable, the blocks identical to this point. Worth noting, Chicago State, one of the better defensive teams in the country, holding their opponents to hitting 162 on the season so far, and the Noles hitting about 100 points higher than that. Welcome courtside, everybody. Sean Davison alongside the ABCA and USA Volleyball Hall of Famer, Dr. Cecile Reynaud. And folks, that's got a ring to it. Madison Fitzpatrick has been tremendous. Alexander DiCaprio, who's actually our producer tonight, has also done a tremendous job on color. But, Coach, it's great to have you back here on the table.
I'm sure you thought I was off having fun, but I had hip replacement surgery the middle of September. So I've been home paying attention to what's going on, and I do think the talent has been excellent. I've enjoyed listening to all of you during this first part of the season.
Well, not only surgery, but rumor has it you're retired, but you don't know what retirement really means because you've been keeping busy.
I'm vice president of this Pro Volleyball Federation, and it's just been an exciting job to put this league together that'll be starting in January. So pro volleyball in the United States for women, it's exciting. We got 7 teams around the country and ready to go.
It's tremendous to see an option for women to play professional volleyball, as you mentioned here in the United States. Go ahead and tell us a little bit more about the Pro Volleyball Federation.
Well, we have 7 teams that'll be starting out this year. We ended up adding Las Vegas at the very end, and then we've got probably about 4 or 5 more teams coming on. Kansas City, Dallas will be coming on the next year, and more teams are contacting us about trying to add a franchise. So we're trying to make it just really like the WNBA, a high-quality professional experience for women to stay home and play. About 330 transfer and go out of the country to play every year, and so we want to give them a place to stay home and play.
I'm sure there's a lot of folks here that are thankful and grateful for what you're doing to further and grow the game here stateside. And it's caught a lot of traction, too. There's a lot of celebrities and athletes of other sports that have invested into this league, haven't they?
Yes, it's been fun. We've got Joe Burrow. We've got all different kinds of people. Carrie Walsh-Jennings, who was a beach Olympian, and she's one of the team owners in San Diego. So it's been a lot of fun. Jason Derulo, a musical star in Omaha, is a team owner. Dan DeVos up in Grand Rapids. So it's been fun getting to know some of these owners and what they're willing to put into their teams and their cities.
And you get started February 24, right?
Start in January, yes, February 24th. The first match is going to be January 24th. That is going to be up in Omaha, which is a crazy city for volleyball. So Omaha versus Atlanta, January 24th will be our first match.
Oh, we certainly can't wait to see that. We're excited for you, and we're excited to have you back here.
Thank you very much. It's been fun, and it's great to be back in Intelligent.
All right, we've got set 3 coming. So that's going to put an end to our conversation about the PVF, and it's going to put an end to our conversation about what the heck you've been up to. We got to talk some volleyball right here live.
It sounds good, and it really is. It's fun to be. It's awfully hard to stay home during the fall when all this is going on up here, but it's great to be back.
It's great to see Florida State back amongst the top 25 as well, breaking into the polls here this week after a 2-year period where they were not ranked. They will retain possession here. Kenneth Phelan served it in, and that was an attack error by Feliz to get things started here.
But boy, the start of the season for Florida State scared me just a little bit. There were a lot of, I think, unpredicted losses that I kept watching, and then they have turned it around and they're right where they want to be in November.
The ace serve by Kenneth Phelan. Florida State doesn't usually drop in a whole lot of aces, but they also don't usually drop in a whole lot of errors either, so you can kind of live with that. The Noles have been able to apply some service pressure, and you're right, absolutely. Between Emery Dupes, who seemingly has caught that injury bug and can't quite shake it. She's a tremendous libero for Florida State, and they can't wait to get her back. But Kylene Filamawa has stepped in, but there's an adjustment period for a freshman becoming a libero at the Division I level, and for a period of time, Audrey Rothman, who is one of Florida State's best all-around players, was out with a concussion. So there were some big matches where they didn't have arguably their 2 best passers. And you ask any coach in America what's most important? Serving and passing.
Serving and passing seems to be a theme. So junior players work on that serving and passing because it wins the games, that's for sure.
Chicago State has done a pretty good job to this point of quieting Florida State's first ball contact. When it's good, their offense is as elite as anybody in the country. And when it hasn't been so good, you get those extended runs that Chicago State's been able to go on here at multiple points in this match. Kiari Roby, though, tips that one to the floor. And there's an ace serve.
Florida State's got so many offensive weapons. You know, they're really a threat out of the middle, and the outside hitters can put the ball away. Back row attackers, they've really got the whole menu going on.
Sydney Conley was rejected by the Chicago State block. Messalina Severino got up there, and even though the Noles got a couple of hands on it, it caromed out of play. Point to the Cougs. And a service error to go right back to Florida State.
You know, sometimes if that net wasn't there, serving would be much better, wouldn't it? You know, you've got to play against the net, too.
It would be fun, yeah, absolutely.
It's, you know, there's 7 things out there you got to worry about. One of them is the net.
Feliz trying to side out from the right side, went right through the seam and over the back. Right idea, it was open. A little too much juice on that swing by Feliz. Sandez. She's got good size and a good swing. She's 6'4", playing as the opposite for Chicago State. Second kill of the match for Sandez. Conley from the right pin for Florida State. Rothman tried to cut that and found the sideline. My goodness.
That was just impossible. I couldn't quite see where it was going to land, but man, she really turned that thumb down and just slicked it right in there. You can't get much better than that.
Going back to your point earlier, it's a Florida State team that has, yes, tremendous balance, and that balance has also lent itself to some really competitive practices by players that have come on strong. And Chris Poole's been very candid about it. He said Audrey Rothman is the type of player that she likes to think that she can do everything Audrey Koenig can do, compares herself a lot to Koenig, and competes in practices to do all the things that Koenig can do, despite the fact that she's a year younger.
And that's where you really get better, is in practice, and you've got to have people challenge you all the time. So I'm sure those practices are quite competitive.
Meanwhile, Sandez with another kill, had a season-high 11 earlier this season against Oakland. And now Chicago State wants to wipe up a spot on the Terraflex here at Lucy McDaniel Court. Whitney Barnes remains in the libero jersey for the Cougars. They started with Lauren Martin in the libero jersey in set 1. She's one of their primary defensive specialists. Double contact on the set attempt by Kylene Filamau, and she knew it immediately. Hands on the face. But going back to that point, Martin in the first set, Barnes the last 2. Sandez off the block. Wagita rolled over the tape and out of play. Mark Edsel saying point Florida State. And that sends Audrey Rothman back to serve for the Noles. 3-point lead. Eakes, a player who has played in virtually every conceivable position for Florida State as an attacker, has been middle, has played on the left pin, has played on the right pin, airmails everybody.
And those are all different kind of arm swings at different places to hit the ball, and she just got caught with a floater.
She put an end to set 2 with the set sealing kill, and it looked a little bit like that.
And that's an excellent swing to come back with out of the middle.
8th different Seminole to come into this match and register a kill to this point. Joust at the net. It goes to Florida State. Eakes again, this time off the block, tools it for the kill. Couple of kills in a row for Eakes, number 1 in goal.
Again, they're spreading the offense around. Really keep Chicago State on their toes here.
This time on the slide, it was snipped out by Audrey Koenig. Berenice Almeida was rejected.
We haven't seen them run that many slides, especially in that 5-1. That's usually a pretty effective way to lose that block.
sixth block of the match for Florida State, 6 also for Chicago State. That's a tough serve. It's an overpass. Roby tried to put it away. Wagita facing 2 blockers. Hit that one directly into the net. Timeout, Chicago State. Midway through set 3. It's a set they must win. And as they hit the reset button, we'll head to a quick commercial break here in Tallahassee. Audrey Koenig has been a fixture for Florida State now for going on 3 years. She's their leading attacker, and she leads them again tonight, Coach.
You know, she really takes some good swings. She's got that sharp angle. She can hit it almost just along the top of the net. And then we'll see her come down and hit a ball down the line and score just as well. But she's just this quiet leader, but at 6'3", she's really an offensive weapon.
And I mentioned earlier, Florida State's balance offensively. 8 different players have checked in and registered a kill. Koenig with 7, Roby with 6, Lewis with 4. The team has 28 amongst their 8 players, and they're hitting well above that opponent hitting percentage that Chicago State comes into this match allowing. That is a pancake. Droskovic keeps it up, and there's Audrey Koenig.
Just fantastic defense. Well, I think we're going to have our first challenge of the night. I was thinking we might get through without one.
I think Coach Trifonov thinks that ball was down and that it wasn't a pancake by Droskovic.
And certainly he's got to try and do something to get his team back in here just a little bit. So just a nice play, I thought, by Jelly getting her hand underneath the ball. It looked like it bounced straight up to me, but we'll see what our second referee, Harold Weber, thinks.
So Weber heads to the monitor.
You know, she just extends herself out, gets her hand under it. You can see the ball goes up. So a quick ruling on that challenge.
Yeah, it remains point Florida State. They have doubled up Chicago State to this point in this set. That doesn't necessarily mean this is a done deal. We've seen Chicago State go on multiple huge runs to this point in the match. Feliz back row, dug up by Droskovic. Eeks cross court, dug up by Sandez. No digging that up. My goodness, what a swing by Yanlis Feliz.
She has been just unstoppable from back there. I mean, she comes in, it's a low set, and she just rips it.
Feliz, who was on the Dominican Republic's U18 and U20 national teams, won silver at the U18 World Cup a few years ago. 10 total kills for Feliz, who going back to that 2021 year where she was an All-American and the Player of the Year in the WAC, had over 500 kills. Koenig tooling the block. That's a smart swing by AK. And Florida State sides out. They remain ahead by 7. Kenneth Phelan to serve it in for Florida State. Feliz, this time off speed, picked up by Phelan. The Lamaua with the set to Audrey Koenig.
Again, she just sprays it around the court wherever she sees the hole. If it's a hole in the block, she's going there, deep corner.
So now Koenig joins Feliz in double figures for the match. That's her 10th kill on 25 swings. Feliz, dug up by Lamaua. Phelan, that was tight to the net, and Koenig ran out of room.
Yeah, we've seen that happen once before with Florida State. They just get it, you want to give them something good to swing at, and that means staying off the net so you can take a full swing and get it around that block.
Much needed point for Chicago State, who needs a run here at the midway point of set 3. Almeida serves it in, and it's an ace serve. Almeida, one of the most efficient hitters over a few years in the WAC prior to Chicago State going independent, has continued that this year, hitting .352. Each team, by the way, with 6 aces to this point in the match. Service error by Almeida.
Again, they've kind of shot themselves in the foot a couple of times. They get a run going. That's their 10th service error of this match.
10 errors to go along with 6 aces. So the ratio not favorable to this point for Chicago State.
Swing.
That swing plenty favorable, though, for Feliz.
She's one of their seniors. Tell she's had some experience out there.
Tight pass. And Conley is blocked.
Boy, I thought that was a nice setup. I really thought somebody would go with that middle hitter. But a good solid block.
8 is down to 5 now, as Zagumni serves it in. Logita digs that up. It's tight to the net. Deep free ball to Florida State. Rothman. And now Conley trying to clean up that ball that hung on top of the net. Rothman again. Back to Florida State. Koenig back row. One-handed dive. And point Cougars.
And I think Chicago State just stayed on it, on it, on it. Really good penetration at the net on their blocks.
So Victoria Zagumni goes back to serve yet again. Better pass, and there's your result. The way Florida State's middles have operated this year, if you get a quality pass and allow the Noles to do what they want to do, it's almost immediate.
And that's what they call being in system. If you can get a pass to the setter, she's able to make some good decisions and get you one-on-one. It's going to be successful.
How about that angle for Rothman?
And that's against one blocker, and that's what you should be able to do, is put it down. The middle pulls up that other blocker, and you're out there by yourself. Good play.
Another timeout by Chicago State. Florida State withstood the heat and the run, and now has re-extended the lead to 6. Well, we talked about Kiari Roby here just a couple of points ago and what Florida State's middles have done. The Noles as a team are on a 5-game winning streak, and those two, Roby and Lewis, who often have competed against each other in practices, have been one heck of a tandem. .452 Lewis, the most efficient hitter in ACC play. Kiari Roby tied for 7th. Certainly no slouch.
And, you know, they don't get there without the setting. So the setters have done a remarkable job of making those middles successful. And you've got to have the passing to go along with it. But when your middles are strong, that means your setters are doing a great job. And they do it effortlessly. I mean, the middles look like they're just, you know, in the air, and somebody puts the ball in their hands and they're scoring.
And Roby, too. Roby coming into this program, Chris Poole has said it, it has inspired Corey Lewis to a certain degree, and you can see just a little bit more dynamism, more speed,
sure,
even more athleticism out of Lewis, simply because of the model she has in Kiari Roby.
Right. Again, it's that challenge in each other at practice that brings it out of you.
So it'll be Roby to serve it in. Feliz cross court, dug out of play by Phelan. So another kill for Yanlis Feliz. This Played in every set of every match and has started every single one of them this season. For the Cougars, there's Conley right through the seam.
She just seems like the quiet killer. You know, she just kind of sneaks in there, and all of a sudden you're looking for a middle or maybe the outside, and they slip her the ball and she scores.
And
lots.
it's been her most efficient year too, Coach. And so when she's having her career year, you add in Maddie Snyder, who seemingly doesn't have the whole freshman nerves thing going on. The athleticism that Florida State is now getting on the right pin is what's allowed them to be as balanced as they've been.
Right, yes, exactly, exactly.
There's an ace serve for Angelia Draskovic. She's certainly done that plenty this season and throughout the course of her career at UMBC and now here at Florida State. Feliz back row, hunting the sideline. She got it.
I'd just keep setting her back there. She's just been fascinating to watch. No, she takes off from behind and she lands, what, at the 5-foot line? So she travels about 5 feet through the air.
Rothman. Dug up by Zagumni. Draskovic over on 2.
Really effective, but you don't expect the dump very much from a back row attacker. But she stays, her hands are below the top of the net, so that's allowed. But you're not expecting a 6'2" setter to dump the ball over that much.
Certainly worth a smile by the Serbian setter, the 7th Serbian to come into this Florida State program. High reach for Lewis, dug up by Felice. Back set Eakes. Draskovic over on 2 once more.
You know, that once they get the taste of that, and you know, it's until they cover it, might as well go ahead and toss it over there. Really good touch.
Only one hand that time, too, for Draskovic. Smile grows. Sandez cross court, dug up by guess who? The lady of the moment for Florida State. That, though, an attack error, and Chicago State sides out. Starting at 6 p.m. A lot of the other matches around the ACC getting started at 7 p.m. So no real huge updates to bring those of you who are tuning in at home and very much aware that Florida State, who's going non-conference today, is at the top of the ACC. Not a whole lot to update you around the league. But one thing that I can say I'm keeping an eye on, early set one, midway set one, I should say, down in Coral Gables, Miami, who swept Georgia Tech in Atlanta, leading the Yellow Jackets 17-15. Still very early, but another really solid start for Ken Okandara and the Hurricanes against the Yellow Jackets, who, again, they beat in 3 in Atlanta. Meanwhile, speaking of beaten in 3, Florida State has match point. Back row Feliz off the triple block, and Chicago State will extend the proceedings here a little bit longer. Patricia Wagita heads back to serve. In comes the jump topspin. Florida State handles it well, and they have another possession. Roby off speed. Almeida keeps it up. Feliz played up by Filamawa. Koenig seals the set and the match for the Noles, who win it in straights and keep that momentum rolling.
I think this is just what Florida State needed, is a good competitive match against Chicago State, just to keep their rhythm going before they go off and end up with these final 2 ACC matches.
The Noles hit 250 for the match. They win it 25, 22, 21, and 16. We'll be back to Tallahassee in a moment.
Congratulations on a big win. Did you think it was going to be that easy, or how did it feel?
It was. We knew it was going to be a challenge just for ourselves, like on our side of the court, just making sure that we're always playing our game. We know, like, no matter who the opponent is, it's always an opportunity for us to get better. So I think we just used it as like an experience to grow.
And what do you think going into the end of this season now? You've got 2 more conference matches to keep it going. What are you focused on now?
Yeah, we're really just focused, I think, on continuing to like grow our hitter-setter connection and just also staying like consistent as a team so that we can continue to grow into the off season. I think that's going to be really important for us come tournament time.
Well, I tell you, it was really exciting to watch, and we wish you the best going into this. We'll see you back here against Notre Dame right after Thanksgiving, so thank you very much. And thank you for staying tuned here for this Florida State match, and congratulations to the Seminoles.
Thank you. Go Noles.
We'll see you back here next time with Notre Dame on this Saturday after Thanksgiving. Thanks for tuning in.